My name's Jeff Herbert, this is my wife Jennifer, and together we have founded Superstition Meadery, and we're the only meadery in Arizona. We make mead, which is honey wine, and hard cider. We use Arizona honey, and we use Arizona grapes. So tonight we brought a few products to taste at Sibley's West, and we're looking forward to introducing ourselves to Chandler tonight. So this is one of our products called Aphrodisia, named after a Greek festival. Being Superstition Meadery, we reference religion, history, and mythology in the names of our products. So Aphrodisia was a festival in ancient Greece, and we took 1,000 pounds of Arizona's Zinfandel grapes and 144 pounds of Arizona honey. Fermented together, we have what's called a piment, which is a honeyed wine. If you're familiar with Spartacus or Greek or Roman mythology, you may have heard of that. So we brought that product tonight. And we got started in this business because a friend of mine was homebrewing beer and visited us one time, and I thought it was just the best craft beer I'd ever had. And one Father's Day I got home from work, and Jen had a refrigerator and a homebrew set and a shelving unit all set up, so started making beer and mead at the same time. And after all your friends come over drinking your free beer and mead, they tell you, you got to sell this stuff. So after countless hours of research and business classes, we put together a plan where we began our winery, and we've been a licensed winery for over a year now. And soon we're opening our own spot on the Courthouse Square in Prescott, so come out and visit us sometime. And
so when did you get started?
I started 5 years ago learning how to make mead and hard cider. So there's just volumes of literature you've got to sort through to figure out how are you going to do this, and really a whole lot of trial and error. And the mead making process is generally 6 months to a year before you're drinking it. So it's in some ways a slow process, but you're constantly evaluating the progress of your different ideas that you're putting into play, and some aren't going to work out, and some are amazing. And this is one of the meads that we entered in the Mazer Cup in the spring of this year, and it won a silver medal, and that's like the Olympics of mead. It's the world's largest commercial mead competition. So that was some great professional validation that we're onto something, and we're looking forward to entering more meads and winning some medals in 2014.
Now, how is mead different than wine?
That's a good question. Legally, in the United States, a winery cannot have any cereal grains. So anything that you'd put in beer as a base for fermentable sugars, such as barley, malted barley, wheat, even rice and corn, if you are a fan of Budweiser, all of that goes into beer as the base fermentable sugars. In a winery, you can't have any cereal grains, so it has to be fruit. And everyone thinks of wine as being made out of grapes because that's what most wine is made out of, but grapes, it's just one type of fruit. So you could make wine out of strawberries, grapefruit, or in our case, honey as an agricultural product that's not a grain is legally a wine. So mead is referred to as honey wine, and we use honey as our fermentable sugar, which is the most expensive, commonly used fermentable sugar used in the winemaking process. And it's really important to know that mead is the oldest fermentable beverage that people would enjoy. So before people were planting grapes for wine and barley for making beer, hunter-gatherers would collect honey, and before they even had invented ways to fire pottery or weave baskets, people knew how to use animal skins to hold liquids for transportation. So if you mix honey and water, that's sort of like the Gatorade of our ancient ancestors, and wild yeast is just present all around us, and that would get into their solution, start to ferment slowly, and if they didn't drink it before they got back to the village, they had a surprise for everyone, not knowing what it was, of course. But another fun thing is that people believed until very recently in our evolutionary past that fermentation was magic and that bees got their honey from heaven. So that's also part of why we're going with superstition as a theme in mead making, because there are so many superstitions that are involved with the history of our craft, the most famous of which is the origin of the word honeymoon, where a newly betrothed couple would be given a month's supply or a cycle of the moon supply of mead to get to know each other. So that would
so we have a honeymoon.
That's right. So that's the origin of the term honeymoon, and that would get the marriage off to a fun start.
And what's next for Superstition Meadery?
Well, we're in the middle of planning our first expansion. So right now our production is maxed out and we're selling everything that we can make. We have just a few accounts around the state, and we're going to be really making a lot more mead in the very near future.
So 2014 will be big for
Oh
you.
yeah, it's going to be a big year for us. So thanks for being part of it.
Thanks for coming by Sibley's West.